However, Kiki's friend was there and ran to tell her everything. She arrived at Kiki's room screaming while Kiki was doing her skincare routine, saying she was being cheated on. But Kiki said that was impossible because Chen Yuan was a prince who would never betray her. Her friend was about to say he was downstairs talking about feelings with another girl, but Kiki interrupted her, saying it didn't matter if others confessed to him. However, Xiaofei pointed to the phone and asked what she thought about him spending money on another woman. Once again, Kiki said it was okay. He had already informed her about it, and he had plenty of money. She patted her friend's head, saying that the most important thing in a relationship is trust, and he was telling her everything. The poor friend was devastated, thinking that her once smart friend was now completely deluded. Meanwhile, Chen Yuan was dying of sleepiness. His friend was angry, asking to get sleepy in the middle of the mystery game. In front of him were two girls with hearts on their faces, saying he could go back to sleep. He looked so handsome unconscious, which was a bit dangerous, my friend. His friend told him to understand that it was just because he was handsome that they were there, so he needed to help him get something too. But our protagonist wants to know why she's there too. Obviously, the famous Chu Tong was eager to get back at the protagonist. His friend said he was worried about her because he heard she was going to the hospital a lot, and Chen Yuan wondered if he had really gone that far. Remembering the first time he got the legendary rejection, he thinks she might really want to apologize, but it was her fault for acting that way. But is he being too heartless? He is in a dilemma. The girls want to know if he is the famous loose cigarette from the internet, especially since he uses the same name on WhatsApp. He was starting to talk with Chu Tong's ears perked up to listen. Suddenly, a voice in the room said that if he really were that guy, he would let them use his head as a bowling ball. It was a guy in a blue suit who told him to stop comparing himself to that rich guy. Chen Yuan seemed to recognize this guy. The same guy went up to Chu Tong and introduced himself as Lai Yun Tao and asked for a contact. She was a bit embarrassed and shy, clearly. The girl was no good. Chen Yuan remembered that this guy always made his life miserable in high school using his family's connections. Or he is willing to let this guy show off, as he doesn't want everyone to know he has money. But looking at Chu Tong, he thinks it's time to test her. He stands next to Lai Yun Tao and introduces him to everyone, saying he's a high-class guy with lots of money and successful businesses. He then explains to everyone that the reason he has a bit of money lately is only because of the demolition of his family home, nothing more. Chu Tong is shocked to realize that Chen Yuan is not the famous loose cigarette. On the left side is a guy with many companies and wealth. On the right side is a poor guy who liked her a little. Her favorability starts to drop and her bootlicking system crashes with 15 points. But this makes the protagonist smile and Chu Tong runs to add the guy. She has a villainous look on her face, saying that even an idiot knows who the better option is. Lai Yun Tao tells Chen Yuan that it's funny. The girl he introduced just added him. He gets close to Chen Yuan's ear and says he got stepped on in the middle school style and will continue to get stepped on. Chen Yuan seems to notice something. As Lai Yun Tao leaves, he says he will pay the bill for everyone there. While Chen Yuan starts to joke or laugh, everyone wonders what's going on. He says it's nothing and that he just realized a few things. While thinking he gave Chu Tong the best opportunity she could have, she clearly showed her claws again. From now on, he won't have any sympathy because she doesn't deserve it. As he leaves, Lai Yun Tao asks if he's already leaving and says that tomorrow they will have a middle school reunion. Chen Yuan thinks about it and then tells him that if it's just middle school people, he will definitely show up. In a fancy restaurant in room 888, the reunion is already happening, and everyone is happy and celebrating each other's success, especially Lai Yun Tao's. In the middle of the crowd, Chen Yuan is invisible. He thinks that Lai Yun Tao never misses a chance to show off. Suddenly, the door opens and a girl with immense respect walks in. She apologizes, saying that the taxi took a long time. Chen Yuan recognizes her as Xiao Ruyu, the moonlight that illuminated his high school days. She was mysterious and noble, like an unsolvable equation. Suddenly, the damn poet emerges. He gives a little smile and approaches, asking if they can exchange contacts. Lai Yun Tao gets angry, saying that he will regret doing that. Ruyu thinks she's seen him somewhere before and replies that it's no problem, they can exchange contacts. With this, the bootlicking relationship was established, and she has an appearance score of 9.2. Someone shouts from the middle of the table that Chen Yuan has never been anything special, so why is he being so bold? One of the girls says that he's pretending to be rich and is actually shameful. She warns everyone that Chen Yuan hangs out with some second-generation rich kids who harm many women. One of Chen Yuan's friends says that she has no idea what she's talking about. She says that Chen Yuan made her get humiliated by her ex-boyfriend. I think it was that guy who delivered the car and made her suffer. Crying, she says she is sure that Chen Yuan only asked for Ruyu's number to sell it to his friends. Ruyu looks on and starts losing favorability because of this. Yun Tao takes the opportunity to ask Chen Yuan if he is so poor that he needs to lean on others, and if he wants, he has a job for him. Chen Yuan, seeing the two insulting him at the same time, thinks that they are plotting together. But if they are showing their faces, he will have to step on them. He sends a message to Hao Qian, telling him to come to this restaurant with the Ferrari. A while later, everyone is going downstairs to leave. Yun Tao is confident that Chen Yuan and his friend will never show up here again. He asked Ruyu if she wants him to take her home, which she declines. An attendant approaches Yun Tail, asking him to move his car, and gets angry. How come he has to move it from the restaurant parking lot? The guy tries to explain that after 9 p.m., the restaurant is reserved for VIPs only. Young Tao wonders who this so-called VIP is. Sitting in his car, he is impressed. In front of him is a Ferrari he has only seen in exhibits, costing over 20 million. Suddenly, he sees Zhang Hoshin getting out of the car and recognizes him. He starts sweating and feels embarrassed because he has heard how important this guy is. But then Chen Yuan greets Hoshin, who smiles. He thanks Hoshin for bringing his car, and Hoshin says it's always good to help the boss. Young Tao is in disbelief, wondering, wait a minute, this car belongs to Chen Yuan? People start questioning if Chen Yuan is really that rich. And the girls say that the one girl had lied, claiming he needed others. Ruoyu immediately realizes that this girl and Yun Tao were trying to tarnish Chen Yuan's reputation. However, despite being humiliated, he didn't bother defending himself against these people. She finds this quite interesting, and her favorability rises by 20 points. Seeing this, the rascal smiles and asks her if he could have the honor of escorting her home. She agrees. The class is now all in love with Chen Yuan, and his friends take the chance to poke fun at Yun Tao, who will image photos of a busy avenue, copy, and paste. Inside, Roya feels a bit uneasy. Perhaps she was too hasty in getting into this car. Chen Yuan tells her that he has been paying attention. The pendant on her bag is a dichotomon. She is impressed that he recognizes it. It's a character from a Chinese cartoon. He tells her that he loves watching that series and seeing the transformations, and she says she's always liked it too. She glances at him, feeling a bit embarrassed, and smiles. While he thinks she's very cute, perhaps her cold attitude is just a protective measure. Seeing her beautiful face makes it irresistible to want to protect her. The boy didn't last the 3 words. He says he is experiencing a feeling of love for the first time in his life. Wow, at her house. He makes a gesture representing Madeline, saying it was really nice to meet her, and she returns the gesture, thanking him for bringing her home. They stand there like 2 idiots laughing. As he leaves, she says that he is interesting, different from the rich guys. He doesn't try to boss her around and just has fun. She then enters her house and is immediately scolded by her mother, who wants to know if she went on that blind date her mother set up. She must remember that her father's business is at a crucial moment, and they have no choice. However, Roya cries, saying she won't marry just to help the company. Her feelings are important. But her mother says it is her duty since everything she eats or wears is paid for by them. And if her father's company goes bankrupt, they will all be ruined. The boy from the Han family may not seem that interesting, but the situation is more important than feelings. Crying, she says she understands, and a tear falls on the little doll. Chen Yuan is just watching the group of millionaires. When the guy with the car mentions he has some crazy news, Chen Yuan gets curious. Then he finds out that Ruoyu is going to marry a chubby guy with horrible hair just because of her family's bankruptcy. He starts wondering if he got involved in this whole mess. But remembering her, he questions whether she will really get married. Ever since high school, he couldn't take his eyes off her. He won't let this happen. This time he will be decisive and won't let life pass him by like this. The girl with glasses asks if it was Chen Yuan passing by, and the guy says it seems like it was indeed him. Suddenly she stops him, introduces herself as Shen Shuyu, and asks if he wants to become an internet celebrity. Chen Yuan takes a look at the car and apologizes, saying he's not interested. Seeing that he responded so quickly, she believes he has already received offers from other companies and decides to try something different. Carrying 3 bags full of content, she starts talking about how their company is huge and extremely competitive in terms of the payment they offer. Besides, you might not know, but on their platform, they have the famous loose cigarette. If he doesn't sign with them, he better be careful not to be hated by the cigarette guy. Chen Yuan gets angry. The damn girl doesn't even know he is the loose cigarette and is here wasting his time. She's in his face while he wonders if she thinks he won't do anything. So he grabs his phone, thinking that since he won't do anything, someone else will do it for him. He goes to the rich kids group and talks about her name and her company, asking if anyone can help and resolve this. She keeps insisting when her boss calls her, ordering her to return to the company immediately, or she will be out of a job. Confused, she tells her boss she didn't do anything. Meanwhile, Chen Yuan is just angry with his hand group trying to steal Ruoya from him. In the car, the mother says they are just going to meet. She doesn't need to be so sad. Besides, this will help a lot with the financial crisis. Suddenly, she receives a message from Chen Yuan asking where she is. She mentions the restaurant and he says he'll be there to help her. She wonders if Chen Yuan already knows about the blind date. If she were to compare that disgusting hand guy with Chen Yuan, he seems much more attractive. Her father says he has never asked her for anything, so he hopes she will consider things. Everyone in the car stays silent and she says she understands. The car then stops in front of the luxurious restaurant and someone comes to guide them. However, the guy is already drooling, saying that soon she will become the property of the Han family. Seeing a briefcase in the guy's hand, she finds it strange that they are bringing so many documents to a blind date. They then enter the room. The father of the Han family greets them with his son, Pineapple Head, who is already drooling on the side. Ruoyu immediately notices a lot of documents on the table. This is clearly not a blind date. She wants to know what her father is planning. That father is filthy trash, right? You can't sell your daughter even if you're eating dirt and mud. Ruoyu knows how influential this group is in the city, and Han Sanshu, Pineapple Head's father, is a very perverse guy. He approaches Ruoyu and says she is much prettier in person. She says she doesn't deserve so many compliments while sending a message to Chen Yuan, informing him that she's in room 305. Pineapple Head approaches her, saying he is excited about their relationship and that she doesn't need to worry. Her family's business will be very successful. She pulls her hand away, saying thanks awkwardly. He puts his hand on her back, saying she doesn't need to be polite. Gives her a squeeze, saying they will be family. But she slaps him, asking who said they would become family, and tells him to take his hand off. The worst father ever seen in all stories even argues with her, saying she's being rude. With tears in her eyes, she doesn't have much to say. Her father turns to Han Sangshu and says that his daughter is very young and doesn't know what's best for her, but they can take a look at the contract. A man arrives and begins to explain all the details. They will buy 20% of her father's company for $100 million on the condition that she marries Pineapple Head. However, this money will be invested in stocks they control, and they will only be able to access the $100 million once she gives birth to a child with Pineapple Head. She is shocked and immediately grabs the document, asking if they are seriously talking about having a child in this. She cries, looking at her father, asking if he really brought her there to sell her this way. Her mother tells her to calm down, but she refuses. Crying, she asks why their failure has to affect her life. She declares that she knows Pineapple Head is addicted to alcohol, prostitution, and gambling. She will never marry him. The disgraceful father slaps her across the face, leaving her in disbelief with a red cheek. This story is getting better than Mexican soap opera, folks. Her father yells that he spoiled her too much, and she only thinks of herself. He raised a child, apparently. She is confused by his words, saying she only thinks of herself. Her mother says she needs to be more sincere and understand that if she doesn't do this, the whole family will collapse. But Ruyo argues that it doesn't make sense. If things go wrong, they can start over together and rebuild everything. Her mother shows that she is also despicable and falls to her knees, begging her daughter, begging her have mercy on her poor mother. Everyone in the room is shocked by this. Ruyo tells her to get up and asks what she's doing. But her mother says she has no other choice. She will only get up if Ruyo agrees to this. Ruyo doesn't know what to say. The poor girl is lost. Pineapple Head says she can trust him to deliver the heavens and stars to her. At this moment, the poor girl gives up and realizes that this is her fate. Being born into this rich family means she has to sacrifice certain parts of her life. Without any expression, she tells her mother she will accept, and her mother can doubt. Immediately, her mother's tears stop, as genuine as my promise to stop looking at 3D wafers on family-friendly sites. She stands up, congratulating her daughter. Sancho says that now that she's agreed, they should sign the contracts immediately. The guy starts taking the documents out of the briefcase. While Sancho says this will be great, as soon as the marriage happens, the company will boom. Meanwhile, Pineapple Head is now licking his lips, angry that she initially refused to accept, already imagining the fun he will have with her. Everyone in the room is silent while she doesn't even sit in the chair. But suddenly, Chen Yuan arrives, kicking the door open. The first to notice is Ruyo, and no one in the room can believe it. Chen Yuan says they are very brave and have lost their sense of danger to be doing this. Ruyo is ecstatic to see him. Pineapple Head comes running, asking if he is tired of living. But he immediately gets a slap and falls, breaking everything in the room. Chen Yuan calls him a fool and tells him to disappear. The guard asks if he has any idea who he is messing with and if he knows the status of the family's present. Chen Yuan laughs, saying it's a family that sells their daughter and another that buys her. He wants to see who has the courage to touch him. Sanshu tells everyone to be quiet while thinking, how does this kid know they are there and still does this? He realizes this boy is not that simple. He then approaches and asks Chen Yuan which family he is from, to which he replies that he is not qualified to know. Pineapple Head tries to shout, but his father tells him to shut up. Chen Yuan looks at Ruyo and tells her she can relax because he will help her family's difficulties. He goes to the table to look at the contract while her father asks what he is doing. Chen Yuan says her father is suffering from brain failure for selling his daughter at such a low price. He tears up the papers, saying he will buy 60% of their company for $500 million. People can't believe it, $500 million. Sancho starts sweating, realizing that for someone to spend $500 million like that, their family must be worth at least $10 billion. However, he can't figure out where this kid came from, even though he knows all the families around here. Ruyo's father gets excited about such a large sum of money. Not only can he restore the company, but he can also even expand it. But Chen Yuan says that to provide the $500 million, he has one condition. He points to Ruyo, who wonders if he really wants to buy her for that price. She drops her bag to the floor, feeling desolate, thinking that Chen Yuan is just like all the others in the end. Once again, she cries over her little doll. Then Chen Yuan reveals that his condition is that 60% of the company must be transferred to her name. As soon as she has more than half of the company, he will transfer $500 million. Now she is radiant, feeling like a bird released from its cage. Double meaning, yes or no. She sees Chen Yuan as a hero, and obviously her favorability starts to rise and rise, instantly reaching E5. A guy arrives with a contract and says all she needs to do is sign it. He gently holds her hand, saying that after she signs this, she will have control over her own life. Immediately, the money is transferred to the accounts of the worst family members in the world, who become emotional. Her father asks Chen Yuan if he really will only ask for this, and Chen Yuan says that's all. However, he warns that from now on he controls the rise or fall of his family, and it's best if her father does nothing more to cause Rui pain. And he tells her there's nothing left to be said there, and they should leave. Sanchu suddenly changes his mind, saying he really recognizes Chen Yuan's hard work and tells him not to take what his son did to heart, while imagining that he's some kind of money god for spending 500 million out of nowhere. Seeing this, her father knows it wouldn't be smart to become his adversary. Pineapple Head starts yelling at his father, saying that he was the first to be hit. And now he gets hit a second time for being a fool. As he is being beaten, Chen Yuan walks out the door with Ruyo. Some time later in the Ferrari, she thanks him for saving her. He says nothing has changed. It's not the first time he has saved her. In a flashback, Ruyo was riding her bike home, worried she wouldn't meet anyone strange. Of course, she met the most honest people in society who wanted to talk to her. One of them even offered an ear cleaning, but from afar, someone was running towards her, and he arrived, headbutting one in the stomach. While holding off the guys, he told her she could run and not look back. She ran while Chen Yuan stayed there, getting beaten. She was so desperate at the time that she didn't remember his face. Later, she returned with the police to the same place, but the boy was already gone. Crying her eyes out, she says she never imagined she would find the person who saved her once. She gets all excited, saying she never expected it would be him. Another 10 favorability points, and with that, we've reached the legendary 95 and a counterattack is ready. The system detects that he spent 500 million to bootlick her, and in return, he will gain 50 million for himself. Moreover, he gains several attribute points, proficiency in English, French, Russian, and Korean. Good heavens, he became a polyglot. Chen Yuan is amazed. The system worked, and the deal was quick this time. Staring at her, he thinks it's too good to be true. He never had the courage to talk to her and could only watch from a distance. The only time he could do something was to save her, but it was an action that always brought him pride. He takes a look, and they get closer to feel each other's breath. When, of course, the phone rings and they separate. It's Zha Yu, and now it's complicated. She says she has already moved into the house and bought some furniture. Does he know what day tomorrow is? He says yes, tomorrow is her birthday, and he has already bought several presents. While thinking it's a critical moment, in the middle of the house with the changes, she asks him not to be too extravagant when meeting her friends. He says it's fine. He will think about what to bring as a gift. While her friend is just wanting to set up the furniture. She never revealed it, but she finds it wonderful to have a house worth 60 million. Crazy in the head, Chen Yuan says his friend is organizing a birthday party and asks if she wants to go. His strategy is that he leaves things very exposed. No one will doubt him since he isn't hiding anything. However, she tells him not to worry and to go ahead. She has plenty to handle. But she isn't foolish and isn't asking questions she knows won't get answered. He says it's a pity because she would be the most beautiful one there if she replies that when she has a chance, she will visit. But he's just being polite. He knows that if she really accepts, things will get complicated. Meanwhile, she is confident in her charm, believing she can win even if there are more beautiful women. This one loves competition. Getting out of the car, she thanks Chen Yuan for everything he did today. He tells her that if she feels bad for not being able to accompany him today, she can repay him in another way. She gives him a 500 million kiss on the cheek. However, she warns him that now he is marked by her and the long star. And Yuan suffers. As he is getting back in the car, thinking about going home to play some games, someone suddenly asks if that's his car. When he looks back, it's Chutong, shocked with her thumb out. Door closed, car on the road, and she was ignored. Her friend then says it looks like he lied last time and was just testing her again. Chutong is shocked for the 10th time. She messed up again and asked her friend what she should do to get back. Her friend says it's not possible. She missed her chance. But maybe she can. Chutong is stunned. She gets angry, asking if she really is thinking of trying something with Chen Yuan. Her friend says he is amazing, so why wouldn't she try since Chutong can't anymore? Chutong starts radiating like Goku, pulling her hair, and now they're fighting over nothing. Our boy just closed the door. They're fighting, getting uglier and uglier. Lying on the ground with everyone recording. A while later, she is desolate, having lost a man and a friend. Chen Yuan keeps improving, and the distance between them keeps growing. This way, she has no more chance. Suddenly, someone tells her to stop crying. It's Shen Shui from Dreamland, asking if she's interested in becoming an internet celebrity, and that she knows a way to help her get Chen Yuan back. At home, Chen Yuan is just wondering what to give Kiki as a present. When he was about to leave his room, one of his friends mentioned that Chutong was starting a live stream. In the stream, she talks about everything that happened between her and the top spender on that platform. She told everyone how their relationship started a long time ago, but after everything they went through together, he didn't want her anymore. Ken Yuan is angry while his friend is curious if she really was with that rich guy. But our protagonist is already furious. She still wants to play the victim. But he thinks this plan doesn't suit her. There's definitely someone behind it. He then calls one of his friends and asks about who is sponsoring her live stream. Shortly after, he is informed it's Dreamland Shen Shui's company. Ken Yuan is outraged. The damn girl provoked him and now thinks he won't do anything. At Dreamland, Shen Shui is impressed that her live stream was so successful on his first try. When she proposed this idea to her boss, she was reprimanded. But one of her employees found out about his childhood love, Lin Shutong, and that's where she saw the chance to win him over. She thinks she is a genius, and she gets a call from her boss informing her that their company has been banned from the platform. He went to the group of billionaires and told everyone be careful and remove any investments or involvement with that company. Since that group is only for the ultra-rich who trust each other, everyone just followed the information and made several calls to withdraw everything they had. This caused a storm in the place, and in the end, they were banned from everything and had to terminate operations. One of the guys came to inform her that since everyone withdrew their investments, they would need $10 million to keep the place running, but they didn't have that. She was trembling and furious, wondering who was messing with her. Seeing the initial downfall of the company, some investors came to talk to her and withdrew everything they had. You, the streamers working for her, left since it wasn't worth staying at banned company. Without any investors, the company also lost the least they had. Leaving with boxes of ham and the place desolate, she didn't know what to do. She was sure that to have so much power could only be Mr. Wan, but why did he do that? Even Shutong was banned from the platforms, all obviously because of the bald contacts he had. And now it was time to buy something for Kiki. But suddenly Shinshu smacked her face against the glass, giving him a scare. With tears in her eyes, she said she was foolish and begged for forgiveness. And with that, the counterattack began with zero favorability. However, he thought he wasn't interested in an older woman, even though she always came back from the market with 2 giant bags. He lowered the window and in full Giga Chad mode, told her it would be best if she didn't bother him anymore. Strangely, she collapsed to the ground, drooling and wondering why she hadn't realized he was so handsome, especially when he spoke so coldly to her. Her favorability increased and he sped up the Ferrari on the road. At Kiki's mansion, her friends were all impressed with the new house. Suddenly, one of them questioned. A girl with green hair asked if that place was really her house. As far as she had heard, the owner of the place was an old man. Kiki's friend told them to shut up, saying it was ridiculous to think she would be with an old man. However, the girl's boyfriend said it was true, and the owner of the house even had a 12-year-old daughter. Everyone started thinking that the house wasn't hers but just a favor from an old man. But her friend slapped the paper on the table, showing that she was the sole owner of the place, and people started believing that she had really bought it with her live stream earnings. Meanwhile, Kiki was feeling insecure, wondering why he hadn't arrived yet. He got out of the Ferrari with a teddy bear in hand. He parked his car far away to avoid drawing too much attention. Suddenly, he heard something coming from behind and a car almost ran over his foot. It stopped in front of everyone, who wondered if it was a guy named Tang. The blonde guy named Tang Xuan got out of the car and ordered someone to park it for him. At that moment, he noticed Chen Yuan on the side. He wondered if Tiki had really invited this sewer rat to the party. Not to mention, he brought a teddy bear, which was ridiculous. Suddenly, Tiki shouted that he had finally arrived. As the two turned, she said she had been waiting for a long time. Tang Xuan, all gleaming, said it was so good to see her happy like that, but she dodged him. She went straight to Chen Yuan, who brought the teddy bear for her and thanked him. Everyone started commenting on how the fool was ignored, while he wondered why she was giving attention to this kid. Suddenly, a red truck passed behind him, and he thought the perfect chance had come. He told Kiki he brought a gift that he was sure she would like. While the guys were unloading some things from the truck, he thought that Rat should have stayed in the sewer and now would learn the difference between them. He gave her a Yamaha CF6 piano and said he thought it was perfect for the start of the day. Did she like the gift you brought? She says she did, but the piano was very expensive, so she would transfer the money back. He said it was okay because the value was nothing to him. Besides, he had composed a piece just for her. The girls were all smitten and excited to see what you would show, and he started playing the keys, music here and there. The other girls kept saying the two were a perfect match with that piano talent. Kiki strangely complimented him, saying she couldn't compare to such talent, and he said she was flattering him too much. He then turned to Chen Yuan and asked why he didn't show a bit of his talent. Chen Yuan smiled, realizing the guy wanted to embarrass him, and said he would then show a bit of what he knew. Kiki wondered if Chen Yuan really knew how to play the piano, but obviously he knew nothing. But with 35 enhancement points, any skill could be improved. The system notified that it would take 10 points to learn, and he used them immediately, while thinking he would make that guy look foolish, and asked the system for 50 years of piano experience. He started glowing at the piano, and Xuan noticed his vibe had changed. He started playing, and the guy was stunned. It was the same piece he had just played, but the kid had already memorized it. Chen Yuan was confident, saying the surprise was yet to come. He started accelerating the music even more without missing a single note. The boy was on fire. People were sweating, wondering if it was normal and if he had 4 hands by any chance. He had to be the new Beethoven in front of him. In their minds, to have that talent, Chen Yuan must have undergone brutal training. He was like a machine gun firing at each note. When he finished, smoke even rose from the boy. At the party, everyone was silent. As the legendary loose cigarette, he pulled one from the pack. He placed it on the piano string, which was so hot it lit the cigarette. The Chinese know no limits. He put his hand on Xuan's shoulder. and told him, "Your skills are good, just keep working hard." He then placed the cigarette in the guy's mouth and said that playing the piano was about expressing emotions, not creating competition. The guy seemed to fall in love, saying he understood. Everyone was impressed, and suddenly Kiki made a mischievous face, saying she had chosen the right person. Sitting on the couch, she thought he was a treasure among men, and her favorability kept rising. It finally reached 95, and now the counterattack was successful, automatically evolving to a level 60 piano maestro, and Kiki was now becoming a loyal follower of the boy. Since he spent $78 million on her, he received $7 million in return. The guy was finally managing to take advantage of this system to get rich. With 25 more enhancement points, he couldn't even know where to use them. Suddenly, someone came from behind, saying he was full of incredible surprises. It was Kiki, saying he made her very happy that night. He said that this performance was his second gift, so how would she thank him? A new girl appeared, Kim Bing-soo, known as the Ice Beauty. She wasn't famous for her looks, but for her hostile attitude towards all men. Because of this, everyone speculated she was a lover of women. Besides, she was always close to the president, so they even thought they had a relationship. But the truth is that she was kidnapped in her childhood. Even though the police arrived in time and nothing happened, it created a trauma in her. And since then, she hates men. Kiki asked Chen Yuan who he felt was more beautiful between the two. He told Kiki that of all the women he had met, she was the most beautiful. While thinking he wants to avoid women like being Sui as much as possible because they're all crazy. At that moment, Kiki called her friend over Mia. She apologized, saying she was stuck in traffic. Kiki quickly introduced Chen Yuan, who asked if he was the guy who had played the piano, and he said yes. But she said she heard he was the type of guy who had relationships with several girls. Really a man with no morals, even if he had some talent. Chen Yuan wanted to strangle her, but Kiki told him to calm down, saying she had always been like that. But the system doesn't forgive, and another target was found. Kim Bing-soo, 25 years old, 52 kilos, and 9.3 in appearance, with -80 in favorability. And you gain combat skills if he completed everything. Chen Yuan threw the system on the ground, saying that last time it was the aunt, and now it's another woman he doesn't want to bootlick. The night passed, and it was time for the birthday wishes. She celebrated to cut the cake, and everyone was happy, until Bing-soo called Kiki for a little chat. Outside, she warned Kiki that it would be good for her to stay away from Chen Yuan, and Kiki asked why. Bing-soo said that Chen Yuan was involved with many girls, and she didn't want to see her friend in a toxic relationship. Besides, she was about to graduate and wanted to pass the president's position to her. Kiki seemed to want that president's position. She remembered that when she arrived, she always competed with Bing-soo, and they argued a lot. But now in the end, Bing-soo wanted to pass the president's position to her. Were the rumors about Bing-soo true? Was she looking for some fun with a capital L? Embarrassed, Kiki responded that she really didn't deserve the position and it was better to find someone else. But Bing-soo approached and said that love really blinds people because Kiki wasn't acting like the person she knew. Kiki said she was even thinking about leaving the student council to spend more time with Chen Yuan. Bing-soo got angry, saying she was losing all ambition and being stupid because of that guy. Her favorability kept dropping while he wondered if he couldn't even eat cake without losing points. The party was about to end, and everyone was leaving. Suddenly, she told Chen Yuan to wait a minute. There was something she wanted to tell him. He was about to leave, thinking she was getting more adorable with more favorability. All she did was invite him to watch a movie tomorrow. He thought she was inviting him for some Netflix and chill. Suddenly, he heard someone cry in the background. It was Shuan, leaning against his car, devastated and wondering why he had practiced piano his whole life. Chen Yuan felt awkward seeing the guy there and went to talk to him, surprising him. The guy was startled and asked what he wanted. Chen Yuan said he had just lost a piano duel, which wasn't a big deal. He felt awkward because he had humiliated the guy using the system. However, Shuan interpreted it differently and thought he was being belittled. Chen Yuan said that wasn't the case, but Shuan replied, saying he admitted Chen Yuan's skills were good. However, it didn't matter because his family was extremely wealthy and he had everything good. He pulled out his car key and said he was sure Chen Yuan was a poor guy who didn't even have a place to fall dead. But Chen Yuan was heading to the Ferrari. The poor guy even broke his car key. Lying on the ground, you wondered why the god wore simple clothes and drove a Ferrari. As he was leaving, wondering what movie to watch with Kiki tomorrow, he suddenly saw Bing-soo standing in the middle of nowhere. She clearly looked cold and he imagined she might catch a cold, but he didn't care about that, letting the ice princess freeze and sped away. However, when he looked in the rearview mirror, she was surrounded by some guys. They asked if she was alone and if she needed a bodyguard by any chance. If she made them happy, they would even do it for free. She got angry and said if he touched her one more time, she would call the police. The guys laughed in her face and said the angrier she got, the more fun it was. However, they stopped laughing when she kicked one in the balls. She turned and ran, leaving the guy in agony. He told his friends to capture her, who was already fleeing. Looking back, she was confident she could outrun them, but there were too many of them. However, suddenly she ran to Chen Yuan, who asked if she was okay. She was curious to see him, but now the guys had already surrounded them both. The guy who had been kicked told his friends to capture her quickly. She thought that men were indeed bastards, and now she was trapped because she bumped into this damned Chen Yuan. but he warned the guys they had 2 minutes to get out of there. The guy with the mohawk asked what would happen if they didn't leave. Sometime later, everyone was lying beaten on the ground. Kim Yoo-won wiped his hands, saying he had given them advice. He turned to Bing Kasui and asked if she was okay, but he lost 5 favorability points. The poor guy was in disbelief. He was now at -95 after saving her. She was glaring at him with fiery eyes. He had no idea how this happened. She asked him if he thought he was amazing for acting like that. Did he think such a trip would work on her? She was waiting for a car, some gangsters showed up, and he saved her. Clearly, he had orchestrated everything. Not only did she underestimate his intelligence, but he also underestimated hers. She grabbed him by the collar and said that Kiki was willing to give up the president's position just to be with a guy who deceived everyone just to be with her. She turned and said that trash like him made her even angrier. Ken Yuan was in disbelief as she invented this whole story. What madness is this? He called after her, saying he would explain. But she said she didn't want any explanations and just hoped he wouldn't use such a trick again. Our boy was left there not knowing what to do, and the guys were getting up from the ground. He vented his anger on the guy who was waking up. With that, he left, cursing everyone, in disbelief that such a thing happened, until his phone rang and he wondered who was calling. It was Ruoyu. From her presidential bed, she wanted to know if he was free tomorrow. He wanted to know why, and she said she was free and wanted to watch a movie with him. But now things got complicated for the guy because he had already planned a movie with the president. Before he could respond, she said it was the first time she had invited someone like this, and just hoped he wouldn't reject her, please. So he devised a devious plan. He would have one in the morning and one at night. The next morning, his friend sent him a message wanting to talk to him. When he met his friend, he explained that he had bought tickets to watch with a girl, but got stood up and wanted Chin Yuan to accompany him. Unfortunately, it was a friend he couldn't refuse because when he was poor, his friend was always there. The plan was to watch with a friend at 2 in the afternoon, with Kiki at 5 and with Ruoyu at 8. He knew this would be an easy day. Suddenly, he looked to the side and was startled by a crazy girl. There was a girl putting on makeup inside his car out of nowhere. She apologized, saying she was distracted with her makeup and accidentally got in without noticing. He said that since she had regained her senses, she could get out. But she said that maybe she had entered by accident and found the right person. In her mind, she wouldn't miss this chance. And she asked for his contact because she felt a connection. But with his phone in hand, he said he didn't have a phone, clearly not wanting to give a chance to the stranger. She said it was fine then, she would get out of the car. As she was leaving, the guy outside recognized her and asked what she was doing there. Ken Yuan and the girl recognized him as Liu Wenji. He's a friend of Chen Yuan who they were going to the cinema with, and he asked why she was getting out of the car. Did the two of them have something going on? Ken Yuan was worried his friend would get the wrong idea. He got out of the car and tried to explain to his friend. But his friend got angry at the girl and told her he was sure she saw his friend driving a luxury car and threw herself at him. Ken Yuan confirmed that was exactly what happened. They locked the car and left. She was in disbelief that Liu Wenji knew such rich people. While they were watching the movie, a friend asked him why he couldn't date any women. He was so unlucky. Chen Yuan told him not to worry too much about it, and 2 girls behind them said they were strange for watching the movie together like that. Ken Yuan then told his friend that he should never expose his needs. He explained that the more you chase after women, the worse they will treat you. A real man doesn't spend his money on women, but on himself to impress women. That's what he said, and his friend was impressed, saying he had heard a confession from the gods. He grabbed Chen Yuan's hand and said he really understood how things work now. Chen Yuan told him to be careful. People might think the wrong things. And he explained that to attract more women, he just had to be a bit more handsome, a bit richer, and have a few more girlfriends. That's how it works. His friend was frustrated with these obviously impractical tips. As they left the cinema, his friend thanked him, and Chen Yuan said he had a favor asked in about 2 hours. The girls behind them left, convinced they were a couple, all part of Chen Yuan's plan to escape and go on a dangerous adventure. In front of the cinema, someone was waiting. It was Kiki, wanting to know where Chen Yuan was. Suddenly, a guy named Wu Banshee appeared, asking if she could give him her contact info. She apologized, saying she was on a date, but the guy insisted, saying her date wouldn't be interrupted by giving her number. Suddenly, someone tapped him on the shoulder. It was Chen Yuan, saying he would show how it's done. He put his hand beside her and asked if they could have a deep conversation somewhere with fewer people. The guy wondered if this kind of harassment would actually work, but she responded affirmatively, and the guy was fuming with disbelief. They were watching an action movie and Kiki kept glancing to the side. She asked if he wasn't interested in the movie since he was always on his phone. He tried to explain that it was some family business that had been troubling him a lot lately. She believes him, imagining that to have so much money, he must have many problems. His life was different. People only see his extraordinary skills but don't see the countless drops of sweat he sheds while practicing every day. He had been training tirelessly since childhood. He should be training for his future now, but here he was being monopolized by her. Okay. Suddenly, she placed her hand on his, and he was startled. When he looked over, she was crying. He was embarrassed, wondering why she was so emotional. As they left the cinema, walking down the street, she asked if he wanted to recommend something. But just as he was about to answer, he received a call. He had asked his friend to call right after the movie so he could escape. He answered and asked what it was. Changing his expression, he said it was something very serious, and he had to handle it now. His friend was confused, as was Tiki. He then told her his friend had some problems and he had to go help, and she said it was okay. It was fine for today. As he left, she thought he was a very decent man for giving up a woman to help his friends. In the car, the slight Chen Yuan was thinking he was a genius. Now he just had to win the last challenge. He arrived in front of her apartment and informed her he was downstairs. While thinking he would never do this kind of thing again, his life was worse than a battlefield. Someone called him, and the girl appeared casually, asking if he had waited long. Our boy was smitten, saying she looked stunning. She really was a treasure among women and could look good in any style. She asked if he was ready to leave, and he said, "Let's go." While thinking that if things went well, they could take it to the next level. They went to the cinema, then to a restaurant, and the night passed, and they were back home. As he was leaving, she told him to rest well and said she enjoyed the night, but he asked her to wait. Could he come inside to get a glass of water? She seemed very happy to accept. The scene shifted to him taking a shower, while she wondered why she had done such a thing. She thought he just wanted a glass of water, but after he arrived, he said it was too late to leave, and she allowed him to stay. She couldn't believe she accepted that. What would she do if he asked for that? But it wouldn't be impossible. Then she saw something in his pocket. What she took out was the tickets for all the movies he had watched today. Our guy was caught in 4K. He came out of the shower saying he was ready, but was startled when he saw the tickets on the table. She then wanted to know what that meant. Either he was a movie addict or he was dating a lot of women. Why do you want to get involved in her life just to be with other women? Ken Yuan couldn't say anything while she was berating him, saying he just played with her emotions. Minus 20 favorability points as she told him to leave, now down to 75. He was trembling, thinking he had seen this coming. He then told her that he never thought she trusted him so little, and a few movie tickets and everything he did for her went down the drain. Angrily, she said he still had the nerve to make excuses. He called Wanji and told her to talk to him and ask what they did today. Wanji answered, asking why he was calling so late. Royo took the phone and asked him if he went to watch a movie with Chen Yuan today. Wanji said yes, he had invited a girl, but she declined, so they went together. But he snapped to reality with the name he heard and asked how this happened. She half ignored him and angrily hung up the phone, saying it was all settled. Now she was confused, not knowing if he was telling the truth or if his friend was lying to her. She had the number of the girl he said he was going to the cinema with, so she decided to check. When the girl answered, she said yes, the guy had asked her to watch a movie, but she declined until a guy in a Ferrari showed up. Ken Yuan asked if she wanted to check his cards to see what he bought. He turned, saying he was very disappointed. She said there must have been a misunderstanding and asked for forgiveness, but he slammed the door. Outside, he thought he managed to get out of that situation. The guy doesn't lie much. She sent a message on her phone and he said it was okay. He understood and forgave her. She felt relieved, thinking he was very kind, and her favorability rose by 21 points. Now he relaxed, her favorability went up again, luckily by 1 point more than before. He realized he needed to be more careful since he almost ruined everything. He needed to keep in mind that certain connections are just for gaining points and status, while others are for fun and joy. If he got the system for revenge, he would build a harem. Some girls passed by him, commenting that they were going to watch something. He seemed to recognize the name and decided to take a look as well. The court was packed with people. The girls were all excited, cheering and saying they loved them. On the side were Shutong and her friend, who suddenly teleported next to Chen Yuan, who greeted the famous Shu Lil. But someone touched his shoulder, and when he turned, it was Zhang asking if he liked basketball. The guys seeing this were all envious, saying Chen Yuan was a lucky guy. Suddenly Bing Su appeared, saying that men love to talk behind women's backs. Kitty told her to relax since they were just going to watch the game. On the court, Shun was worried, seeing Chen Yuan there again. And there were a lot of girls surrounding him. What kind of disaster is this? But he saw Kiki and believed this was his chance to shine. He had been practicing basketball for the past 6 months. It was time to humiliate this guy. He threw the ball in his direction. Ken Yuan sensed something coming and in Spider-Man style, managed to catch it. He turned to the guy and said it was shameful he acted that way just because he lost in the piano competition. Suyun said it didn't matter. If he wanted, he could come and compete in basketball. Our boy seemed to be losing his temper with the guy. He threw the ball back, saying he would play then. Suyun decided to catch it, but the throw was too strong, and he was knocked back. Kiki was impressed by the powerful throw, while Bing Su commented that men are all savages who know nothing but fighting. The poor guy was lying on the ground with his friends asking if he was okay. He couldn't believe that Chen Yuan was that strong. Ken Yuan said he wasn't interested in a one-on-one. Why not have a 5-on-5 to see the school's level? Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe he had called for a 5-5. Chua knew he had the school team, the coach on his side, and the crowd. This was more like a 1-on-9 and he was sure he would win. The game started and he received the ball. He was confident he would humiliate Chen Yuan and finally make Kiki recognize who was better. Ken Yuan was surrounded not only by enemies but by his teammates as well. But he knew very well that this would happen. Who needs a team when you have the system? With that, he added 30 more years of basketball experience. Shunan continued to be confident, thinking it was time to show his skill. He jumped to dump the ball, but suddenly Chen Yuan appeared and blocked it easily. Everyone froze in disbelief that the poor guy was defeated so easily. It was one play, and the guy was already psychologically shaken, and Chen Yuan said it was his turn now, but the referee blew the whistle, saying it was a foul. With that, Shuan took a free throw and scored a point, thinking Chen Yuan was an idiot since everyone was on his side. There was no way he could win, but the school crowd was starting to notice something was wrong. It was shameful to call the referee for something like this, and Chen Yuan was getting angry. Now he was motivated to end this guy. The game resumed and he stole the ball. He went and scored a basket. The poor guys hadn't even moved from their spots. Shuan scolded his team for not being able to block one guy. He even cursed Chen Yuan's team for not stopping him. Once again, they tried to surround him, but he jumped and scored another. The referee and the players didn't understand why he was trying so hard. Clearly, the game was rigged for him to lose. So why didn't he just give up? The referee started to remember what he taught his students about respect and how, when entering a court, you should always give your all. Seeing Chen Yuan trying so hard left everyone in the basketball community emotional. Chen Yuan advanced once more, not understanding why everyone was standing still. People couldn't figure out what was happening. On the court, it seemed like no one else was moving. From afar, Kiki said he was winning the game and maintaining his virtues. Shuan couldn't understand why no one was following his plans anymore. The score was now 60-2. Shuan was exhausted, and Chen Yuan was advancing once again to humiliate him. At that moment, he thought that if he at least defended this one, he wouldn't be so embarrassed. Chen Yuan approached. He jumped, and Shuan threw his elbow into his chest, but it was his arm that got broken. He fell to the ground, writhing in pain, and Chen Yuan slammed the dunk. With that, he gained points with Kiki. He gained points with Shutong. He gained points with Shu Lil. He gained points with Xian. As he was leaving, he said Shuan didn't deserve to be the team captain. It really insulted his skills to have to compete with someone so dirty. Shuan told him to stop being arrogant, saying he would soon regret it. Some girls said they even forgot to record because he was so incredible. Seeing that, Xian wanted to know where Chen Yuan was. She wanted to give him a bottle of water, but Kikit also wanted to give him a bottle of water. However, all four were holding water bottles with liquid spilling. Chen Yuan fled, sweating nervously. Choosing which bottle to drink the nectar from could make him lose all the others. He took a shower after the game and received a friend request from someone in the group of rich people. The guy called him, and he asked what was up. The guy said it was nothing much. He just wanted to know if the boy wanted a wife. Chen Yuan was skeptical about this offer. The next target was aimed at Dou Xinyuan, the 22-year-old actress. Her career was going very well, but she got involved in an online scandal and the company ended her contract. The guy who called him in the group was Gao Lang, her brother, who was asking for Chen Yuan's help. Chen Yuan asked if he was hearing correctly, did Gao Lang want him to marry his sister? Gao Lang clarified that it wasn't exactly like that. He said it somewhat casually. It's just that his sister was falsely accused and now her contract was terminated. So he wanted to know if Chen Yuan would like to buy the house she lives in. Chen Yuan thought he really needed to buy a house for himself, but considering she's an actress, she must love spending money, which would make her a perfect target for the system. He then told Gao Lang to arrange for him to meet his sister and see the house. Gao Lang said he would arrange everything now, thinking the group never lies. Mr. Yan is truly incredible. It seems the rumor that he saved the Xiao family isn't a lie. The house goes when he was furious. Obviously, now that her career was going downhill, a bunch of guys were offering to marry her, but she didn't want any of that trash. None of them deserved a beauty like hers. All she wanted was to be a simple actress. Why did everything have to be so difficult? She then received a call. It was her brother telling her not to worry about money anymore. He found the perfect person. She was a bit confused about who it was, and her brother explained that it was a very influential guy that recently appeared. Hearing the name Mr. Yan, she already imagined a rundown fat guy. With that, she berated her brother, saying that when he got home, you would get beaten. Her brother tried to explain that he was an incredible guy and to show him the house as he was arriving soon. She hung up, angry, saying all men were the same, a real disaster. With her hands to the sky, she swore that even if she had to jump off a building, she wouldn't accept a cent from this man. In front of the house, Chen Yuan was impressed with the structure, and it wasn't very far. He rang the doorbell, and she thought the old man had come running like a desperate fool. She walked slowly down the hallway just to annoy him. She opened the door, saying she came running and for him to stop being annoying, but she blushed. As soon as she saw Chen Yuan introducing himself, before she could ask who he was, he entered, apologizing. She was impressed that the boss was so young and handsome. He sat on the sofa and told her she could sit too. She was a bit confused, as it was her house. She asked if he didn't want to see more of the house, and he said he had seen enough to know it was a good house. After all, that's not why he was there, and she wanted to know why then. He said the most important thing was her, and he wanted her to be his mistress. Wow, the boy is bold, activating this system wildly. Gou Zuani in 9.2 in appearance and minus 35 in favorability. Chen Yuan thought that this time he wouldn't waste time. He would go on the offensive. By hearing this, she wasn't pleased. The guy came in, asked her to be his mistress. She would have to humiliate him. She said he was very direct, but it wasn't impossible if he accepted some conditions. First, a car worth 10 million, an amazing apartment, and he had to invest $2 billion in 2 films where she would be a lead actress. Before she finished, he said that was very little. It seemed simpler than he thought. She was in disbelief. Obviously, the boy would like it. He was eager to spend all the system's money. Returning home, Gao Lang was shocked Chen Yuan's car was still there. Why hadn't he left? He entered the room and asked his sister why the loose cigarette car was still there. Despondent, she said she actually got it as a gift from him. Besides that, he deposited a lot of money into her account. The brother then asked if everything went well with the house sale and if she at least got the $2 million. Showing her phone, she said she got $1 billion. The boy's eyes sparkled, imagining that Chen Yuan really liked his sister. Finally, he could retire and become an uncle who only smoked cigarettes. Gao Xuanyin couldn't forget about Chen Yuan. He handed over the money, said he transferred the car to her name, and left, saying he had other things to do. He only came to help her because he didn't like seeing beautiful women suffer. Wow, what a hero. With that, she couldn't forget the boy. She thought he wasn't so bad after all. Her favorability kept rising. At Bingsu's graduation, she warned Kiki to be careful with Chen Yuan. Kiki tried to explain that Chen Yuan wasn't what she thought, but Bingsu was clearly determined to hate the guy. She then revealed to her that on her birthday, he orchestrated some gangsters just to try and win her over. Kiki said it seemed like she had a very troubled mind. Chen Yuan is a hero that everyone at school likes, showing a photo of Shulil and her dad holding a poster. Not to mention that on her birthday, he had no idea she was going there, so it was impossible that he had set everything up. Bingsu started to question if she had really misunderstood things. Was she exaggerating with her paranoia? With that, she left without saying anything to Kiki. Now Bingsu felt embarrassed, thinking she'd been mistaken in her romantic delusion. Back at work, she was exhausted. She was dying of shame because she had told her friend that her boyfriend was hitting on her when in fact he wasn't. Not to mention that every time she remembered the incident, the only thing that came to mind was Chen Yuan protecting her. Suddenly, her boss called her for a meeting, waking her up to reality, and informed her that there would be a charity dinner with the city's top businessmen. The boss wanted her to go and become friends with a certain Yang, a type of millionaire who had recently appeared. Bingsu felt sad. She had joined a company with a female boss to avoid this kind of thing, but she accepted. It was that or lose her job. Back at home, Chen Yuan was talking with the guys from the millionaire group. After they gave infinite money to Gao Xuanyin, she had been able to defend herself against the false accusations, and Chen Yuan was impressed with how well she handled things. On the other end of the phone was Hao Chang-ki, inviting him to the charity dinner. Thinking that it would only be rich people, he knew he could find a way or someone to spend a lot of money on. So of course he would go. Back at Gao Xuanyin's mansion, she was doing her best to defend herself from the accusations, but it wasn't easy. Every time she needed more money to invest in marketing, she received a transfer from our boy. She tried to convince herself that it was nothing. He wasn't winning her over like that. But favorability doesn't lie. The day of the charity dinner arrived. Of course, all millionaires that our boy had humiliated were present, from the bar guy to the basketball guy. Sue said he was going to the bathroom. He knew the new magnate of the group would be at that party, and he had researched a lot to get close to this person. He knew it would be someone elegant and sophisticated, an elder with advanced vision. So he stood at the door, wanting to be the first to meet this person. But suddenly, he saw Chen Yuan arriving and wondered why he was there dressed as security. The poor guy had actually spent $20,000 on that suit, really only used to spending the system's money. But he was startled. The security guards were indeed wearing the same suit as him. Shun went to speak to him, calling him the Prince of Basketball, and asked if he was so broke that he came there to work as security. But Chen Yuan said that wasn't the case, and that he was invited to the banquet. Chu responded that they could enter together then, thinking he was lying and wouldn't have his name on the list. At the entrance, the security asked him to show the invitation, and Chen Yuan was confused. He hadn't received any invitation. Chu encircled him, laughing, saying he was ridiculous. He really came there pretending like that? Meanwhile, another car pulled up to the event. It was being Sue arriving for work. All the guys blushed upon seeing her. She thought she didn't like arriving in a luxurious car, but unfortunately, it was part of the company's plan. She heard some commotion on the side and looked to see Chen Yuan and the security guard. He was already getting angry, saying he didn't have an invitation, but he was sure he was invited. The security guard said everyone who was invited received something at home. Bing Su laughed in his face, asking if he really thought he was that important. Suddenly, she appeared and said that each card allowed bringing guests, so he was hers. The guard accepted without a word, while Chen Yuan was confused as to why she was helping him since she hated him. She turned and told her to hurry up, saying her perception of him hadn't changed. She just owed him a favor. She understood that on that night, he really did save her. And that's all. But Chen Yuan didn't like this. He was about to make a call to humiliate Chuan, and now she had ruined everything. He then told her that she shouldn't consider this repaying a favor. He didn't ask to be her lackey. It would be better if she stopped meddling in other people's business.